Hello, Americans. The networks and Stephen Colbert, CBS, and the other networks, and the intelligence at next to their location, they fake conversations with me about the World Trade Center attack. So they have the syntax in this YouTube short clip of what Megyn Kelly was speaking about Stephen Colbert. They have CBS attaching me to fake conversations with themselves. Now these are sick people with experience and their delusions. We have black people's whites of eyes to discern the delusions of our experts, and then pretending we're delusions raw because we're speaking about experts that way. In the background, they're faking transcripts and ties to ourselves. A bunch of people at Hartford Hospital are refusing to get on paper and communicate with me. They faked conversations with me with people named Leahy and multiple courts personally and professionally involved with them, and with FBI Director Robert Luskin, his co-defendants and their family members. These are people all ages and ages of investigations, investigators since they were kids, used remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusion draw. And so, get me off of fake conversations with CBS. News predicate acts, whole methods are recorded. They know that they can't follow mandated law. A bunch of people within the Britain Superior Court and Hartford courts and the district court were involved with West Hartford locations and confessions to me and regarding their roles with Dean Judd and his son, with foreign and domestic military associated with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the family members and intimate ties of multiple courts. And then further, and the news at the same time, same sequence shifts, self-value too, and used remotely that way, right? Where no one self-values the difference of it. And further, at the same way, at the corrections offices of Connecticut and Wethersfield, and the judicial branch offices, and names next to it and conjunctive to it. And they're repeating fake things tied to me, put fake ties to me, fake nature ties to me. All exceptions they use, even set up fake exceptions, has something to do with their ongoing World Trade Center predicate acts, collusion /S, including with timed use of relative body dumping spots years apart. Brought up to me too, recorded. It was brought up to me by people that brought up the principal child abusers campus. And more confessions and roles of untimely deaths and things associated with FBI Director Robert Luskin and people associated with him, like people named Scalora and DeMauro, have further World Trade Center predicate acts with CBS. Big conversations with me about the World Trade Center attack, while I caught them forcing a principal sexual and medical offender with more then and now worse. And now, even if that was made up, he has collusion /S with them. It's increasingly people with the corner of Knott Street and Walker Hill Road, per Christopher Walters. People that know my name, I don't even know their name. Tied to his confessions about that corner, has something to do with his roles with phone companies and with people named Spada, who have a Delafair family, and both of their families have probate court judges. Now, these are sick people that were involved with elderly homes and child campuses, with people on my street who got involved with untimely deaths and elderly homes and child campuses at the same time, while they were planting evidences against me intercities at Trinity College, Central Connecticut State University next to them. That's in Hartford, Connecticut, and New Britain, Connecticut, with the ones that have been planting evidences on my street and in my area since I was a kid, with a bunch of people from other areas. And there's various ways recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. My neighbors will tell you they're influenced, in other words, to say different things about their roles with the spots next in a hot dog place next to Central Connecticut State University. And these are with the intelligence people, with the FBI director, and multiple, like a Brian Silver, with prosecutors and judges and victim advocates involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, with people from, as their roles with people from my area on my street that made confessions years apart, totally different untimely deaths that they have collusions with, and with the names of houses and businesses next to Hartford Hospital. Involved also with overt criminal enterprises, private ones. These are people involved with other countries like Puerto Rico and Cuba. And then that's where they did the torture, pretend that we want torture, or we're the experts. We watch the news a little closer than you. Listen to the syntax of of Colbert in there. Get me off the fake conversations with CBS. They had a lot of things confirmed to me on Facebook by people who before and after and during the World Trade Center attack had collusion/S. Then they stole my Facebook pages. They did this to other too. When I had things confirmed, like people on off the state judicial branch offices increasingly have collusions with CBS and people all along Route 3, conjunctions to it and to that. They use the right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie. Too, regarding stories of a kid attacked with a cell phone, even if that was not made up, they have collusion around that rope with bad people from other countries and with military, foreign and domestic. I never had a word of a conversation with anyone with the name Donahue. They're involved with men and women who abused Heather Hansen and other people that are involved with her. And these are also people involved with their roles with child abusers, leaders of kids, tied to people that were involved with them and their families, intimately in other ways. Also, forced, tricked, hurt, and persuaded. It has something to do with an Donahue family and their roles with the side entrances to Middlewood Park. Three or more than three side entrances to Middlewood Park has a former Mayor Gold, has a former mayor, another one with a relative named Ruth, next to the State Board of Education in Old Weathersfield too. And increasingly with a John DeMoro involved with overt criminal enterprises, sexual and medical offenders of kids. I only know him seeking me out to make confessions and demonstrations and confirmations of his collusions with a Mr. Abruzzi, who's increasingly by kids before and after I was in his 5th grade class. Recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, and adults, people from Central Connecticut State University, have him involved with identity theft, frauds, federal evidences, crimes with them. And people who have roles with home-brain kids in my area, tied to my 5th grade teacher. I never had a personal conversation with him ever. And there was a 6th grade teacher who wasn't mine, tried to make a fake exception and put mold and tried to make us get hurt with the mold. And then God knows what he put in the databases. One's named Burstein. They are also with Central Connecticut State University through time. And their roles planting evidences on the sides of the campus with confessions from others, and they pretend you had a conversation. They pretend it for them and us. These are people that will tell you that, but in other words, but you have to ask them correctly, and they can't be communicated with legitimately interbranch. They won't even get onto paper because they were used interbranch in all sides of criminal and civil cases. Already put the same sequence shifts, the same federal evidence crimes and relative delusions while they were pretending other. You guys were child abused at campuses A through Z. You had other communicators for James Madison that our founder left us to understand. So you're going to use this with black people's whites of eyes to discern worse than criminal incompetence of the experts and of the people countering them as collusion/S2. That's why we're going to focus on the actual predicate acts. Don't fake and change what I say about predicate acts. Don't hide it, obfuscate it. CBS, you guys were doing this. Now stop this and get the interbranch on paper with you too. And your sources. WTNH has FBI Director Robert Luskin too. With you guys, with a whole bunch of people tied to and as his co-defendants, their family members, their neighbors, and different natures of conjunctions to them. A bunch of people with the these are victims advocates involved with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, and with the syntax of a John DeMoro and his roles with a whole bunch of people. Mike Levine is one of the people, the principal child abuser, principal leader of kids, brought up to me. And these are people involved with the Saudi attackers that Whiting Forensics has collusions with a Mike Levine and others associated with the Town Line Drive, also with the Joseph Lieberman and roles with him and confessions tied to him and his family member at Central Connecticut State University before and after the World Trade Center attack. Connecticut had roles through people with the intelligence community and the families that work at Central Connecticut State University and next to it, with one's intercities through time, involved with wire crime acts methods, falsified police reports, fake conversations with me as a kid at the police station when I was a kid, and then as an adult. And the kids who did go down there, they were used as tools to put fake ties, fake nature ties, meaning sequence shifts. And they gave depositions about that. And then increasingly that was exploited. Christopher Walters, like in other words, too. increasingly like Knott Street, and there's another family that lived right there. More than one that know my name, I don't even know their names. And they have something to do with the wire companies and the different agencies and their roles with planting evidence on my street, fake ties, fake nature, fake motivations too. So all sides of my house, a Dillon family also has been planting evidences. Also, an officer, Jerry Miller, on Facebook, as one of the ones on Facebook further involved with sexual medical offenders of kids. With a Joshua Julian, too, on the Facebook page of a principal upskirt nature, as one of the ones that was forcing that. With some black KKK, Confederate flag theme, Latino theme, with this Kalal family and a Smith family, with a whole bunch of people tied to them who brought them into it. At Hartford Hospital, too. They have all kinds of drugs and medicines crimes with the intelligence agencies, putting fake conversations and ties between people. A bunch of people named Leahy affected confessions on my street, like a Rick Cianfaglione has a Brendan Leahy with multiple courts, with a Brian Silver involved with drugs and medicines crimes with them, and supposed to be countering such things. They're involved with identity theft, fraud, slanders, collusions/S, with uses of all ages and natures of remote of investigations. Investigators and their families use remotely criminally foreign influence. There are generations of males and females with a Leahy family, and one's named Lombardo. Collusions at Hartford Hospital, also with the houses and businesses next to it, like Mayano, DeMorrow. DeMorrow's Market used to be there, where DeMorrow's Market is now, too. It's still increasingly involved. Collusion/S. John Mayano has many people involved with Elm Streets and Rocky Hill and Weathersfield, involved with sequence shifts, and his educators involved with proven and more sexual and medical offenders of kids for people tied to him. I don't know if he knows about that, but he has an extent. He knows that it's plausible. He has an extent of collusion with these people. A bunch of people at the Britain Superior Court had John Mayano involved with sequence shifts with them. And he used to hang around with my neighbors. I used to never see them together. In other words, and they used to repeat that name, Johnny Mayano. They would like do it like that. Right when a Paul Zano would plant evidences with them. So like he would time where I'd be there for a second, but I don't even know him because just some guy you remember that was saying things. He's been putting fake conversations with me since I was a kid. Fake ties, fake nature ties to me. Then he was timing when I was walking in the Weathersfield in the school. Increasingly, a Mark Cianfaglione and a Rick Cianfaglione have roles with foreign and domestic medical families, attaching other kids' family members to fake ties and fake natures of ties to others, putting fake things in databases. They have multiple courts involved with them with sexual and medical offenders of kids. You guys should fear God now, too, to hide and plot. These are people further on the state judicial branch offices and corrections offices, cover-ups, and preemptively tied to with the same house/S involved with them with that. And the differences of guilt there, the ones next to it or conjunctive to it, into that. This breaching method designed the suburbs before America's founders were born, and there was slavery entrenched northern colonies and southern colonies, and no one had free speech. And they left this to classify for us to understand that. And the beginning of the Old Testament, too, by the way, in the beginning of the Quran, too, they have parts that say the beginning of the Old Testament says all that matters. I mean, it says only defend right here, where the names of the people that of the sciences will come together. In the beginning of the Quran, it says all that matters. So you guys can't, you had truths used for lies since you were little kids. and you use what you know to get over on people. This is why and how the names of the people of the sciences are offensively showing people, oh, that whole industry is corrupt. I don't want to go into that. In other words. And if they try to go into it, they're gonna realize too. You guys can't even afford principled discernment with black pupils, whites of eyes. Get the heck on paper, one name and sequence. Fix the CBS fake news, and get those creeps pretending they have free speech. They're making examples of free speech dishonestly. Get me off the fake communications in speech at all. That wasn't at all. Fake locations, ties to them. That's CBS pretending, and with the other networks and their sources and the interbranch forging and switching names, refusing to get onto paper because they've been putting fake transcripts in databases. Fear God. I was next to the World Trade Center attack towers the morning of the attack. And I was in the Ninth Circuit Court as an observer, not you guys. And it was proven there was a sequence shift they showed the panel of judges legal papers that had been brought in timely, then they posted the date to make it look as if they've been handed in late. That was proven. That's what was shown to the panel of judges in the court right next to the World Trade Center towers that morning. People at the World Trade Center next to it, in that court next to it, had and have collusion/S, long-term and short-term, leading up to the World Trade Center attack. And since to hide it, WFSB had the audacity to fake conversation with me about the World Trade Center attack. They have people interbranch and foreign that be using the right to lie where they don't have the right to lie. And you guys should fear God for the ones you have with the they're implying to have roles with nuclear or whatever. In other words, get off the fake and get this Officer Cintron. There's a Puerto Rican families from Puerto Rico named Cintron. I don't know if he's Puerto Rican and they're related to him. But he has time collusion/S with them, with identity theft, fraud, slanders, and with sexual and medical offenders of kids, intercities, with campuses, and Sandy Hook campuses. Fear God, these are people tied to Adam Lanza, to his doctors, all kinds of corruption with psychiatry, and ones with badges, interagencies. Former director of the F.B.I., Robert Luskin, has an extent of consciousness of this, and or he has relative delusions anyway. Get the puck on paper.